Good evening and welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen Workshop. It is December 1st, 2020, and it is 6:30 p.m. Going into the agenda, I will have the prayer Thursday night. The Pledge of Allegiance will be with Girl Scout Troop 63. Order of business will be the oath of office ceremonies for Alderman Coates, Alderman No, and Alderman Waldron. And we'll have a certificate of appreciation. You should all have a copy of the minutes from the November 17th, 2020 public hearing and regular meeting. We'll have departmental reports. Then moving on to old business, second reading, ordinance 2020-18, an ordinance to amend the impact fees in the city of Laverne. Any questions, discussions on that?
I'll keep fighting for it. I hope that this board, when we come in here Thursday night, I hope that everybody's had a chance to think about this and we deny that thing and get a percentage up there to show these other two department heads that we care about them and show the past residents. There was things brought up in the last meeting that has laid heavy on my mind. Sorry? Oh, I thought somebody said something.
That's our police radio.
Oh. First of all, let's be realistic. Let's call it what it is. The 30% that was brought up by an outgoing alderman. I don't know how much weight that holds, but I still think that 30% is extremely low. I think the other two department heads departments that need that stuff, I think it'll help in the long run is taxes. It's time for this board to step up to the plate, quit kicking the can down the road, make a presence. And the statement was brought up about punishing people that want to live here. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like quit punishing the people that's been living here and let them reap some of the benefits. Let the department heads get some stuff. No, that money does not go directly towards hiring people, and I understand that. But if we save money by getting equipment and things for these other departments, that money can go back into won't be coming out of the funds to buy the equipment and stuff. So. Again, I hope we come in here Thursday night with a good common sense of direction and deny that thing. And plus, I thought about that too, 30%, and then look at it again in 4 years. 30% is as high as it'll ever go, because in that 4-year span, you can bet that the big builders that have the money will come in and buy as many permits as they possibly can, and even if we increase it, there's not going to be much left. And I know in my heart that on the other side of the interstate is going to be developed, and I think it's going to be some of the backbone of Laverne as far as helping us out.
Anyone else? Moving on to number 6, second reading, ordinance 2020-19, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 general fund budget. And this has got multiple items on it. We already discussed those last month, but part of it is a 2% increase in compensation for 18 jobs that are below the 90% salary index. You've got multiple capital requests in here, and you should see the whole listing, about 3 pages worth. Any questions? Moving on to second reading, ordinance 2020-20, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 stormwater fund budget. And these three are all kind of tied in together. It's just different funds with different items. So you've got a mini excavator in here, and then, of course, some salary increases. Any questions? Moving on to second reading, ordinance 2020-21, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 water and sewer fund budget. Again, we've got different capital items, some water billing desks, chairs, and then salaries. Any questions? Moving on to second reading, ordinance 2020-22, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 police impact fee fund budget. And this is an ordinance for 3 additional police vehicles, and this is $238,160. This does not deal with salaries. This is just the vehicles. Any questions? Second reading, ordinance 2020-23, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 Parks Capital Budget Project. Let me rephrase that. Parks Capital Projects Fund Budget. My apologies. And again, this is going to include the Greenway extension and survey, as far as it's splitting the costs between the general fund and the Parks Impact Fee Fund. So this is for phase 2 of the Greenway, going from the roundabout all the way down to Hurricane Creek for the design and the survey. Any questions? Moving on to Resolution 2020-18, a resolution to accept Lakewood subdivision phases 7, 8, 9, and 10. This received a favorable recommendation at the October 27th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Any questions?
Mayor, may I address for just 2 minutes to the commission?
Give us just 1 minute. Let's see if we have any questions first. Adam, if you don't mind, could you come up? I know I've got a couple questions for you. I don't know if anyone else on the board does.
Evening, Mayor, Board Alderman.
Evening, sir. So at this point, is the punch list complete for this? Has everything been taken care of that's required?
Yes, sir. As of the last meeting, everything on the punch list was completed to the staff's satisfaction.
Okay, so there's nothing outstanding.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions
Yeah,
for him?
Mr. Mayor, I ask a question, yeah. Just a couple of questions. That the citizen that spoke had 3 items that he had some issues with or items to discuss. And I just want to just go through them, if you don't mind, just see what happened. The first one, I think, was to do with the bottom of the drainage area, and was talking about grass. Was it designed to have grass, those 12 injection holes, or not?
It was not really designed to have grass. The grass is actually just a stabilization measure that the city requires as part of our erosion control. Obviously, there's nowhere for that pond to erode to. And secondly, because it is a rock bottom pond, there's not an erosion issue. So grass and dirt are not necessary for it and would actually be detrimental to its function.
Okay. And the second question or discussion he had was regarding the addition. If there are any other additions to the subdivision, would there be another drainage area participated? Is there any other thing designed or any other homes designed for that area?
No, that detention basin is only designed for what has been built out. So phases 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all that will be able to drain to it. If for some reason in the future that a potential expansion were to occur, they would have to, one, prove that they could get enough capacity by adding on to that pond. But as it stands, that's the only thing that can go in it is what is currently built.
And the third was regarding the homeowners association, who's going to run it. Do we figure that?
The city doesn't have any actual authority in who runs a homeowners association. We simply require that there is one to maintain the pond. Really beyond that, our authority doesn't extend into saying that they must have a third party run it, or it has to be ran by the homeowners, or even that they have to collect dues. It just simply says that you'll have a pond, you have to maintain it. If they fail to maintain it, we will ask them to maintain it, and then they can assess the fee throughout, and we can do that through our stormwater ordinance. I believe there is a plan to have a third party for this, but once again, it's not a requirement, at least through the engineering and subdivision side. I believe it'd be Gertner, which manages several other HOAs throughout the area.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I guess I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot, Adam, in your professional engineering mindset, with all those properties being built out there and they get built, we talk about these 100-year floods and 500-year floods. What will it take to make that flood like it did this last time with all them new homes in place?
The homes are already built. They're there. Like, nothing changes. The only thing that will change, assuming the board votes to accept these subdivisions, is that the city will release the remaining.
That's what I mean.
Not much, honestly. Basically, you're adding 8 rooftops, which aren't there currently. In the grand scheme of things, 8 rooftops over an area that's roughly probably 25 or 30 acres is not substantial.
And as far as this homeowners association, you've tried to explain that to me before, and it sounds like there's supposed to be a homeowner association, and maybe there's not, or if there is, nobody knows who's over it. The people that, I mean, let's be real. Mr. and Mrs. Skinner live at the pit of this mess. Anything bad happens, they're singled out. Nobody else that I know of. And there's no way to guarantee them that they're never going to get just washed out again or that kind of mess. And I know it's sad, but they even talked about putting greenery around that thing out there, and everybody says, well, it's the homeowners association. But nobody knows who that is.
So, as for landscaping requirements, the city doesn't have any for subdivisions other than buffer areas if it runs adjacent to somebody else. Occasionally, the planning commission asks for them, but as far as there being an actual requirement that you're building a subdivision, you have to put landscaping, other than I think there's a 1-tree requirement or something minor like that, per lot. There's no screening or anything that is required in our subdivision regulation. So I, on behalf of the city, working with our subdivision regulations, cannot ask for anything above and beyond except out of the builder's, goodness of their heart. If they so decide to do it, I do occasionally get a little bit extra, but when it comes to the formalities, which is what we're dealing with here, I have to tell you that they've done everything that they put in their plan, that the planning commission required, and that the engineer that approved it asked for them to do.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Adam?
Mayor, if it would please the board, I'd like to hear from Amnon Schreibman's attorney. Matter.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Yes, sir.
Sir, if you'd please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Tom White. I'm an attorney with Toon Ettrick & White in Nashville. I appreciate your time tonight. I realize there's no vote taken tonight, but I just want to address this issue that's here before you tonight. As the owner of these phases 7, 8, 9, and 10, I think it's absolutely clear, and you heard again tonight, that the city engineer, the staff, the planning commission have all concurred that all the requirements have been met here for acceptance, period. There's no issue about that. I think the record's also clear that my client's done more than he really had to do out here. But whether it's liked or not liked, all the conditions have been met, and he's done more than he should have done. Now, with respect to the issue that's here, I spoke to the city attorney, Evan Cope. I know him well, and I told him I wanted to come here tonight, just a few minutes. Say the law is absolutely clear. If an applicant meets the specific conditions, there is no discretion. It has to be approved. And to defer it or to deny it is not only legally not defensible, it exposes the city to significant monetary damages. So your city's attorney here, he can address that issue, but I think it's that clear. So I respectfully ask that when this matter comes up to be considered and voted on Thursday night, you approve it. I'll answer any questions that there are, but again, I think it's a relatively simple matter of the law. To defer or deny without a very specific defensible reason exposes the city to significant financial exposure. My client's between 8 lots, and the bonds that are up, it's approximately $1 million. It's significant money. I respectfully thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and I would greatly appreciate if the board would vote this acceptance when it comes up on Thursday evening. And I said to Evan Cope, I was sorry to come behind your impact fee because I thought there'd be some really long discussion about that tonight. And I'm very pleased that there wasn't. So hopefully that'll be smooth on Thursday night as well. But thank you for your courtesies, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shrubman, were you wanting to speak as well?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Aldermen. I just wanted to clear a point that it's not clear there. There is homeowner association from day one. The management company is Associa. Associa is the biggest management company in America. Every person that buys a house there, at the closing, he pays to Associa a significant amount of money. I don't know the exact, but it's somewhere between $500 to $1,000 per each. And they also pay every month to Associa to manage the homeowner association. So Associa is there a few years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions or comments about this?
Evan? Sir? I'll be the elephant in the room here and be a big dummy. If everything that I've ever heard since I've been in office is somebody owns property, they've done everything they're supposed to do, then we can't, as the gentleman said, we can't deny it. Agree?
Yes, sir, correct.
My question is this: if that's the truth, is it just a formality? Why does it have to come before us to say yes or no?
Well, it's part of the process, and the whole thing is a process to make sure steps are followed. And so, as the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, you're charged with the duty to make sure that subdivisions and improvements that you accept and take responsibility for meet the standards that are set forth in your rules and regs. And so that's when you have your staff come forward and say and tell you, yes, they have met these conditions, or no, they haven't. And the ultimate authority lies with you. So if you had a question about whether or not the city engineer was doing his job, which is not an issue here, or you had questions that were of a technical nature that could be addressed by the engineer, then that would be when you do it. But if your engineer tells you that everything we've asked them to do by law they've done, then you could theoretically tell them no, but as Mr. White said, then at that point, the city's on the hook probably for some significant monetary damages.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. First item, approve agreement with James C. Haley and Company to conduct an America's Water Infrastructure Act Risk and Resiliency Assessment. This is something that's not budgeted, but we believe the funds are in professional services for the water department. And basically, this is to get us in compliance with the AWAI. It's just a risk and resiliency assessment. Additionally, one thing that it does require is, was it an emergency plan? Was that correct, Mr. Dietz, when we spoke earlier? But we already have it, and we believe we can just submit what we have and just update a few
Correct.
names on it.
Yes, sir, we are required to have the risk and resiliency assessment to the EPA no later than June 2021. And then we have 6 months after that to complete the emergency response plan, in which we recently updated, so there shouldn't be much work on that side of things.
And so this is not to exceed $22,500. And again, this is money, while not specifically budgeted, we believe it's in professional services for that department.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Dietz.
Thank you, sir.
And then moving on to B, approve meeting calendar for 2021. Anyone have any questions or comments on that? If you will notice on there, there is one new addition for our Board of Mayor and Aldermen meetings. There's actually a deadline to have stuff added to the agenda, and we've done that to help Bruce as far as, this way there's nothing coming in just last minute. It can all be in there and be sorted out so that the agenda can get out to both the public and to the board in a timely fashion. Any questions? Okay, moving on to new business. First reading, Ordinance 2020-24. This is an ordinance to amend Title I, Chapter 1, Section 1-105 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding dates of elections. And this essentially is going to, if passed, would make it so that if we have an election, the swearing in would not occur until the December meeting. This way, if there is any more delays with, as far as getting the certified results back, we're not rushing through and making last minute changes to board meetings. We've been very, very fortunate over the last couple of years, and then this year, the Election Commission couldn't certify the results until the very last day. So rather than scrambling around, this puts the future term starting at the December BOMA meeting. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on to Resolution 2020-19. A resolution to accept the following subdivisions: Cottages of Lake Forest Phase 6A, Cottages of Lake Forest Phases 6B, Hollandale Estates Phase 70. This all received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on November 24th, 2020. Any questions? And Adam, I've got one for you, just for housekeeping. You could come forward. And just to confirm, as always, our punch list, everything has been addressed fully.
That is correct. As I told the Planning Commission when they last reviewed this item, the punch list was completed before that Planning Commission.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Moving on to appoint or remove board and committee members. The Local Emergency Planning Committee, we've got one term that's vacant, and then we have an FYI for 5 terms that expire on December 31st of 2020. Then we have the Economic Development Advisory Committee. We have one term vacant, and that is being advertised on Facebook and Channel 3. We have the Library Board. We have the council member position vacant. And then we have an FYI. We have 2 terms that are expiring at the end of the year. Looks like Brianna King and Kamisha Sadler. Any questions? Moving on to D, Laverne Housing Authority. We've got one term that expired on November 30th. That is Patricia Williams McLean. She would like to stay on the board, and we are actively advertising this on Channel 3 and on Facebook, but so far not received any other applications. E, Stormwater Appeals and Advisory Board. We've got the council member position is vacant, and then we also have 2 terms that expire at the end of the year. John Wade Deaver and Mary Jane Skinner. And we'll reach out to them to see if they want to remain on this board or not. And then as an FYI, we have Beer Board. One term expires at the end of the year. Mr. Dana Blair, who has been on this board for a very long time, Bruce.
Yes.
How long has he been on there?
Since November of 1994.
Woo! Well, we are advertising that, but we will reach out to him to see if he wants to stay on this board. I remember him on that even when I was there, so. FYI, Greenway Advisory Committee, we've got one term that expires on December 31st. That's Carissa Benton. Of course, we'll reach out to her to see if she wants to stay on this board. Next, we have the Historical Preservation Advisory Committee. One term expires at the end of the year. That's Nicole Kim. And she was just appointed in August, but we will check with her to see if she wants to remain on this board and start advertising it. And then lastly, Planning Commission. We've got 2 terms that are expiring at the end of the year, Diane Sanders and John Rutledge. I know I've spoken with them. They do want to remain on the board, and I'll make that appointment here on Thursday. Moving to Mayor and Alderman comments. Mr. Waldron.
I'm good. I don't have anything.
Thank you. Alderman Coates.
I'm good this evening, thank you.
Alderman No.
I think on everybody's mind is their K-9 officer. I didn't have the opportunity to go to it today, but I did watch it. Chip did a great job. Sad day, the way that all went down, but other than that, just want to keep Mr. Darby and everybody in your prayers and keep moving forward.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor.
I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope you have a great time with your family and stay safe. And that's all. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone who came out to Life Point Church. As Alderman No hinted on, we had the memorial for our fallen officer, Jacques, and it was very emotional, very powerful. I want to thank Life Point for hosting that. Chief Davis did a great job, as did all the men and women who were there assisting with that. I want to thank Alderman Coates for being there. I saw you in the back, and it was just a powerful event. So thank you to everybody in the community who has rallied around our police department through this. We have received cards and letters from all over the nation in support of our police and sending condolences. So thank you to everybody, regardless of where you are, for that. Do want to remind everybody that the Christmas parade is this Saturday, so make plans to come. It will be a very festive time. The Parade of Lights, we will have lots of vehicles. I hear that Mr. and Mrs. Claus are going to be visiting us, as is the Grinch family. So that will make it very interesting. After the parade, we will have a tree lighting and fireworks here at City Hall. So bring the whole family out. Let's do this the right way. Let's do it safe, and let's everyone have a good time. Call this meeting adjourned.